What's up everyone, this is Stevie Watts and today I'm going to show you how you can set up multiple RGBW or RGBTW LED tape lights wirelessly via your smartphone or smart device and ultimately get them to work and react to Alexa voice commands. Alexa, turn the lights blue.
Okay.
Alexa, turn the lights white please.
Okay.
Thank you, Alexa. So let's get started. So step 1, product preparation for the overall lighting solution. In this case, we're going to be using 3 x 5 meter RGBW LED tape reels, 24 volt, which means we also need a 24 volt power supply, and in this case it's a 150 watt PSU. We're going to be running the lights via our WA-5UP Wi-Fi controllers that will connect to the Amazon Echo Show 5 or another Amazon Echo device. This will be connected using the Tuya application on a mobile device. On top of that, we'll be using 2 core Wago connectors and a Wago box to keep things tidy. We'll also need some wire cutters, a flathead screwdriver, and we've got a piece of 5 core flat cable here so that we can show you how to use the wire cutters to get a nice bare ends ready for connection. Now that everything is prepared, we can move on to step 2, which is unboxing the WA-5UP controller and downloading the Tuya application. Okay, so now the Tuya application has been downloaded either by scanning the QR code below or by searching for Tuya Smart Home application in either the iTunes or Google Play Store. We can now get on with unboxing. So this is a WA-5UP 5-channel Smart Wi-Fi RGBW and RGBTW LED controller. So let's unbox it. Within the box, you'll see the actual controller itself, and it comes with a clear, well, semi-opaque plastic bag and a double-sided sticky tape for mounting this underneath a kitchen pelmet or in any type of location where you'd want to stick it down firmly. So this is the actual controller itself. And as you can see, you can also download the application here by this QR code. And you can see the outputs here for the RGBW LED tape or RGBTW LED tape. That's a RGB color changing with tuneable white for smart white control as well. So 6 cores for the RGBTW and the positive. Here on this side is the connections for a mains power supply, which is what we can look at now. Moving on to step 3, connecting the WA-5UP Smart Wi-Fi controller directly to a mains power supply. So this is a 24 volt constant voltage power supply. And on this end, you can see there is a mains plug. This connects to any UK mains socket. And on the other side, we have a red positive and a black negative wire to connect directly to the WA-5UP controller. So let's do that now. We will now carry on with step 3, connecting the Wi-Fi controller directly to the power supply or PSU. Please note that I am not a qualified electrician, and this video and all information within it are strictly for educational purposes. For serious electrical works, please consult with a professional electrician or qualified electrical contractor to carry out the work. Okay, let's get started. So as you can see in the top left corner is a V plus and a V minus. These can be seen on the left side here. and our input pins ready to receive the power supply output cable, positive and negative. If we take this flathead screwdriver and turn in an anti-clockwise motion, it will reveal the input pin. These can then be tightened up once the power supply output cable has been pushed into them, creating a secure connection. Now we've completely unscrewed the input terminals, we simply take the output tail from the power supply and push them in. Now we can just screw in a clockwise motion until the cables are completely secure. It's best practice to leave the power supply unplugged until these have been connected for safety reasons. We can now plug the power supply in, and you'll notice a red indicator light to show that the Wi-Fi controller is now working. At this point, we can now try and detect the controller. Now that the WA-5UP Wi-Fi controller has powered up, as indicated by the red flashing light, it's now time to detect the device via the Tuya application. But first we must ensure that the Bluetooth setting on our phone is active and that we have an Amazon Echo installed and ready to connect. This will allow us to detect the device and add it to our home group later. This smart Wi-Fi controller can control 5 different types of LED tape light, including single color, dual white, RGB, RGBW and RGB+CCT. That's RGB plus smart whites. We are setting up an RGBW LED tape right now, so we want to set it into the right mode. To do that, we want to ensure, prior to connecting and discovering the device, that the green light is flickering. We can do this by going through the set button and going through the modes until we get to a green flashing flickering light mode. Now, when we go to detect the device, it will go into RGBW mode, which is exactly what we want. Now we set the device to RGBW mode, it's now time to open the Tuya Smart application to discover the device. Once inside the Tuya app, look towards the top right corner and you will see an orange plus sign. Click this. On the left hand side you'll notice lighting. Click that. And underneath strip lights in the middle of the page you'll see strip lights Wi-Fi. Select this. Ensuring that you have a 2.4 GHz broadband connection and you've added your password to your router, click Next. You'll now see that the device has been found and will soon be discovered. This will be indicated by a blue load bar on the right hand side.
I found controller 3 from the Tuya Smart skill, and you can control it by saying, turn off controller 3.
Now Alexa has discovered this. Let's click Next. Controller 3 has now been added successfully. Click Done. Immediately it opens up the controller 3 and goes into color mode. At this point we can select a color and the device will react accordingly. We can dim the brightness from 100 down to 0 or 1%. And then we can also look at the white mode because we are using RGBW strips. we can control whichever output on the controller we decide to put the white into. Because this is an RGBW 2700 Kelvin, we'll opt to put the RGBW, the warm white, into the warm white connector. Now we've connected the controller, it's now time to connect the LED strips directly to the smart Wi-Fi controller. But first, we're going to cut the ends of the 5-core cable and do a demonstration on how we can use an automatic wire cutter to do just that. These ends are about 8mm. Typically, an RGBW LED strip will come with a 5-core flat cable like this. If we take the automatic wire connector cutters and place them so that we have about 8mm, all we have to do is squeeze and we get 5 neat bare ends which can be wired and twisted together directly into a Wago. As discussed at the beginning of this video, when we were doing the initial product preparation setup, we decided that we would use 3x5 meter RGBW LED tape reels. At 19.2 watt per meter times 15 meters, that's a total of 288 watts. The WA-5UP only uses 2 colors at any one time, meaning that we can half that 288 watt to 144 watt, which is 6 amps. The 5-core flat cable is rated at 3.4 amps, which means if we were to use 15 meters of RGBW LED tape, we would be consuming 6 amps and going above what the rated cable is. To get over this problem, we have 2 choices. We either use a thicker gauge cable, or we double up 2 5-core flat cables for the initial inlay into the 3 strips. We will now set up the 3 5-meter RGBW LED tape reels for you to see the overall result. Now that we've used the automatic wire cutters, revealing around about 8mm at the ends of the cables, we can now look at how we can prepare the cables ready to be twisted and inserted into the Wago terminals, ultimately being put into the Wago box for a neat solution. It's important to note that in my experience, putting a single core of this 5-core flat cable into one of the Wago terminals and then a second single core into the other Wago terminal within a 2-con Wago connector has issues and suffers from connectivity issues. In my experience, it's better to use 2 cores of the cable at the very minimum and a maximum of 4 cores of the flat cable connected together into the terminals. So a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4. In this particular setup, because we have wired 2 flat cables together for the ampage, this results in 5 cores of cables ultimately being stranded together. So instead of twisting them together as 5 cores, we've split this into a set of 2 cores twisted together, and from the 3x5 meter strips, a second set of 3 cores twisted together, meaning that we will put 3 cores into one side of the 2-con Wago connector and 2 cores coming from the controller into the other side, which will result in a working setup that works without issue. So let's look at the cores a little bit closer. Here you can see we have the 3x5 meter strips, and one of the cores needs twisting. So if we just take them, marry them up, and twist them together. This will allow us to put this into a Wago connector as such. We can push that in, snap it down, and that is sturdy in there. We can then do the same for the connector cable coming from the controller. Snap that down. When preparing the cables to be twisted together, it's important to work from the outside of the ribbon cable inwards. So for example, the connection that we've just made is for the white LED aspect of the strip. So white for white, blue for the color blue, red for the color red, green for the color green, and black is positive. So typically in wiring it would be negative, but on the RGBW LED tape, this represents the positive in. As you can see, we've connected all three of the 5-meter RGBW LED tape lights, along with the feed cable from the controller into the Wagos. There are 5 Wagos in total. Each Wago represents a strand color on the ribbon cable, with 2 of the cores coming from the controller into one of the connections in the Wago, and the other 3 coming from the RGBW LED strips into the second connector in each Wago. All the colours are uniform, creating a neat, tidy setup. Alexa, turn the lights on.
Okay.
Alexa, turn the lights blue.
Okay.
Alexa, turn the lights white.
Okay.
As you can see, this is a successful LED strip setup. Moving on, we will now look at how we can put the Wagos into a neater Wago box. We've now twisted and connected each of the 5 pairs of flat core cable into the Wagos. So there is 5 Wagos in total. Each Wago has 3 strands of cable going into the left side of the Wago and 2 strands, which is coming from the controller, into the right side. We can now push these into the Wago master box as such, resulting in a nice, tidy connection. Now if we plug this in, we get an illuminated lighting setup that is neatly configured and wired and will work with Alexa. Alexa, turn the lights up to full brightness.
Okay.
Turn the lights to 100% brightness.
Okay.
As you can see, all the Wagos have now been placed inside a bigger Wago box, creating a neat, tidy solution. It's important that you check all the connections and make sure that they are solidified within the Wago connectors. Please note that it's very important to not leave these reels of tape on rolled up for extended periods of time. This can damage the plastic by melting it and also damage the LEDs due to high amounts of heat. So it's best practice to unreel these. The only reason we're doing it like this is for demonstration purposes. Please do not leave them on for extended periods of time. Previously we set up 3x5 meter RGBW LED tape lights off one WA-5UP Wi-Fi controller. Now we're going to set up 3 different WA-5UP controllers, one for each light strip. This is ideal if you want to have different zones in a room or different rooms completely. So let's get these set up for RGBW mode like we did before. We're going to set them in the green mode. Green pairing mode that allows us to then connect them via the Tuya application and it will set up in the RGBW mode. So let's get to the Tuya application now. Now we are going to open the Tuya Smart application and connect all three of the devices. Please make sure these are plugged in and ready for connection. Once the Tuya application has loaded, we can now see that it has said there's 3 devices to be added. Let's click Go to Add. We'll connect via our Wi-Fi. And now you can see that it is slowly adding the 3 controllers. Wait for this to add each one, and they will be connected and ready to be controlled via the Alexa voice app.
I found controller from the Tuya Smart Skill, and you can control it by saying, turn off controller.
So let's wait for each one to be added and connected.
I found controller 2 from the Tuya Smart Skill, and you can control it by saying, turn off